National Indigenous Peoples Day is this Sunday, June 21st, a day first announced in 1996 by the Governor General of Canada, Romeo LeBlanc. Crystal Lavallee will be hosting a TV special that will be aired on Yes TV on June 19th, celebrating the culture and heritage of the First Nations, Inuit, and Metis people. Welcome, Crystal, to Context.
Hey, Maggie. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, okay, so over the past 3 years or so, you've hosted this NIPD, National Indigenous Peoples Day special on Yes TV. Why is it so important that we celebrate this special day?
Well, I keep telling everybody, with all of the festivals and the gatherings canceled right across the country, this show is an opportunity to go digitally across the country to find the stories of residential school survivors, people who have faced racism and have overcome. And it's just a day to celebrate and honor when a lot of the programs have been shut down or canceled due to COVID.
And this is your full-time job. I mean, your job at Crossroads, which is our parent company, is to find good news stories within the Indigenous community. Tell me why that is such an important role that you have.
Well, we started, I had more than enough to do before I took on this role. And it was communicated to me that, Crystal, there's a space of God's heart that's missing at the table, and it's our Indigenous brothers and sisters. Will you fight for a spot at the table? Will you fight for their voice? That their voices can come through. And I thought, hey, that's something that I can definitely get on board with. And as much as this time period is not very good, I'm enjoying it, because normally I'm on plane after plane after plane after plane going into the communities. And so this is just an opportunity just to rest and really ponder and reflect on all of these people I've gotten to meet across the country that have told their stories, and they're just walking history books. And I think that's important for Canadians, all Canadians, to understand the past in order to move forward.
And you've done such a great job over the past couple of years, Crystal. Some of your segments are highlighted on 100 Huntley Street. You've hosted a show called Across the Land over the past couple of seasons. But you've done such a great job of breaking some stereotypes that unfortunately have been linked with the Indigenous community. Is that your goal?
Yeah, and I think I always start whenever I make a public, presentation. I always start with people in the room saying, what are the stereotypes that you know about Indigenous people? I said, there's no judgment and there is no finger pointing here, but, people say words like drunk or lazy or, addicted to alcohol or addicted to drugs or violent. And my heart breaks, because all the places that we've gone and the communities that we're connected to personally, myself and our team, that isn't the case at all. And it's actually the very opposite, where, the First Nation people are some of the most generous people you will ever meet. And they're funny. And, I'm Métis, so Métis has its own culture and heritage. And Inuit has its own culture and heritage. And so, if people would just see beyond those stereotypes, they'll come to know that a First Nation neighbor or a First Nation culture in your life is actually helpful and beneficial, because of the love that they emanate, and just the forgiveness that a lot of them that I've met personally have chosen to walk in.
And as a Métis woman, we're looking at, now it's National Indigenous History Month, which was declared by the federal government. As you're looking and as you're telling these stories as a storyteller, but also a woman of Métis heritage, what are some important things that you think Canadians need to understand?
So I think, if people just watch the stories at firstpeoplesvoices.ca, you can watch all those doc style stories that we've taken the time to produce. You'll literally see the faces of men and women who share their dirty laundry, who, for example, the one guy in the north part of Ontario, he said, I was the guy drunk on the street that you probably would have walked by. And I want people to know that when they look at the faces of our Indigenous brothers and sisters, that there's a huge past. A lot of them had suffered from residential school, And people need to understand residential school didn't teach you how to be a good parent. It taught you how to be a good student. So you were very strict. You were very short. So that's how you communicated with your children. That's how you built a family. And just even the loss of identity, the loss of culture, just the trauma of being stripped from your family. I couldn't even imagine. Maggie, you have 2 boys. Your kids, you get a knock at the door, your 2 kids being removed from you for no reason other than they're going to get a better education, when really there is that agenda to assimilate them. And, all the document records have clearly stated, their job was to kill the Indian and save the man. And I just want Canadians to understand that when God created us, he created us from every tribe, every tongue, every language, every background as an expression of his heart. And I want people to not roll their eyeballs when they hear a story on the news or an injustice. I want people to stop and smile at a First Nation person who might be homeless on the street. I want people to stop and say a prayer and say, man, God bless this person and help them work through the pain of the past so that they can get freedom. And the crazy part is that the stories that we're telling, especially for National Indigenous Peoples Day, one guy from Northwest Territories, he said from the age of 19 to 61, he was addicted to drugs and alcohol. At 61, he was on his deathbed in the hospital. And he said, God, if you give me a second chance at life, I'll take it. And God did. And he said, I never knew it could be this good. But if I was to meet him on the streets, even 15 years ago, what would my perception would have been? Would I have championed his cause that, hey, things can get better? Or would I just roll my eyes and say, oh, it's just another Indigenous person? But I think that's why what we're doing is so important, is because we're communicating those hope-filled, resilient stories of our First Nation, Métis, and Inuit neighbors. We're not shying away from telling the truth of the past, but we're definitely working our butts off to make sure that our future is brighter and better and more unified.
Okay, we are looking forward to this special this Friday, June 19th. What time, where can we see it, and what can we look forward to?
Yeah, so Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Yes TV. If you don't have Yes TV, it's okay, because if you go to 100 Huntley Street's Facebook page, it'll air live on Friday at 8 p.m. So Eastern Standard Time. So if you're in the West, that's 5 o'clock. Or if you're in BC, sorry, if you're in Alberta, you do the math. I can't think fast enough. But the other thing is that it also be on the 100huntleystreet.com website. So the whole program will be there. We're going to share it as much as we can on our socials, on our Facebook, on our YouTube channel, just so that everybody everywhere can just enjoy this celebration of resilient spirits rising up across Canada. And what's unique about this show is that, man, I've never had to do an entire show during COVID. So we started from scratch. But we had reached out to my friends. We have retired professional basketball player Michael Linklater. He's from Saskatchewan. Then we've got this young kid who won the World Indigenous Games, won the gold medal in Brazil in 2015. He's 22 years of age now, and his next goal is the Olympics. And he says a goal can save a soul. And that's how his story unfolds, because he almost took his own life. And then, we go across the country digitally, and we just hear these hope-filled stories of just strong Indigenous people who say, this is the work that needs to be done. Will you join us? And so together we're all kind of rising up. So that's what you can expect. And you don't want to miss it, because it's going to be just great. And you can share it with your friends. You can share it with everybody you know.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Crystal, for joining us today.
Thank you, Maggie.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for liking, commenting, and subscribing. And let us know what you think about today's topic right there in the comments.